Hi, this is Amy from Revolutionary Chicken. So about a little over a year ago, I thought that it would be really cool if I grew fodder for my chickens. I tried it and honestly it was a disaster. It was really embarrassing. And so I didn't give up. I just kept researching and looking at different ways of doing things, and after a little while, I found out, I should say after a lot of trial and error, I found out, like, not only did I come up with a system that actually grows a beautiful tray of fodder, but I came up with a system that works really well, both indoors and outdoors. It's easy, it's convenient, and it's fast. So I thought I would share that with you. Just to start, you can use any grains to grow fodder. It doesn't have to be wheat. I choose wheat because I had wheat and I live near Winco Food, and I think I buy a 50-pound bag of wheat grains there for $14. So anyway, I chose to use wheat, but you could use barley, sunflower seeds, lentils, anything that sprouts is good to use. Also make sure and use fresh grains, whatever you're going to use, because I found out the hard way that old seeds don't sprout very well. I learned that seeds actually don't sprout very well in the fodder trays. They will sprout, but you don't get a very good sprout rate. Not as good as if you start it in canning jars. And so that was probably one of the most important things I learned, is to start them in canning jars. But when I did, I would get mold. It's really hard to grow sprouts without getting mold. So I figured that out too. The thing you have to do, number one, you have to get out of the cupboard. Number two, you have to drain it really well. So here's some sprouts, and I keep this upside down all day long so the water drains. Now, at first I was just holding it like this and just waiting for the water to drain out and then setting it upright on my counter. But you know, you really can't hold it long enough for all the water to go out, because it takes too long. And so you really need like what I call a sprouter rack. So I made this, I'll just show you, this canning jar sprouter rack is what I call it. And I'm just going to shift the camera a little bit so you can see it. I just came up with this design and I put it on my website, revolutionarychicken.com. It's really easy to build. There's no screwing or stapling, it's just gluing pretty much. So, and then this is the catching tray. I just wrap this with like plastic wrap, and so it catches all the drips. I wrap it and then like push it down in the middle so it forms a little pool. Okay, and the really nice thing with this is that I don't have to stand there and hold these while the water drains. So it just really cuts down on the time that it takes. I just set them in here and it drains, no time at all. Okay, so the advantage to using this, besides it saving you time, is that you won't get mold because it's upside down, draining, and all the water gets out. The other thing is, and the sprouting rate is much higher. As you can see, I'm in my kitchen. I have a hardwood floor, and when I was just putting seeds in the fodder system, the water would splatter everywhere. But then when I started putting sprouts in, like 40-year-old sprouts, it's just like a soft carpeting. The water just goes right in, so no splattering, which I love because I want to keep this in my kitchen. The third reason why I really like this is because the sprouts form kind of an interlocking mat, and so when you pour the water in, they stay put. They don't slide to one side. Okay, process. So on the first morning, I fill a jar with 2/3 of a cup of seeds. You can use 2/3 of a cup to 1 cup of seeds. I fill it up a little bit more than halfway. Okay, use a wide mouth jar. Okay, that night I just drain the seeds and rinse them. Now, if you forget to rinse them that first night and they sit in here for 24 hours, that's fine. They grow better, they grow faster if you do dump out the water after 12 hours, but it's not a big deal if you don't. Okay, morning of the second day, I start a new jar with seeds and rinse out the first jar, and then again in the evening, rinse and drain. So third day, same thing, start a new jar, rinse and drain at night. Fourth day, I take the seeds that have now been on the rack for 3 days. So it's the morning of the fourth day. They're 3 days old, and I put them in my fodder tray. I take out the fodder that is grown the highest. That would be probably, I don't know if you can see this one. Give that to the chickens, pour this in, and then this one will be my jar that starts a new round of seeds. Okay, I thought I would show you my workflow, how this actually goes on a day-to-day basis. It's really important to be able to get a system that moves quickly for you. Like I said, I've been doing this for about a year, and if it took me a long time, I would not do it. The other thing I want to point out is this jar is empty. I didn't refill it yesterday only because we're going to be going on vacation in a week. So normally this would be full. So this is what I do when I come down every morning, and then I also repeat rinsing at night, but not all the steps. So I will show you. First thing I do, I have a pitcher right under my sink. I turn that on, then I come over here and I pull out the water. I have some felt pads underneath. They're like moving pads, and they protect the floor from getting scratched. Dump the water into the sink. Okay. Then I put this back. All right. I'm gonna just come over here, shut off my water. Okay, then I take my jars and start filling them with water. This is on the top, so just make the sprouts go down a little bit. Okay, and then I turn it upside down in my sink. And then while this is rinsing, this one is draining. I just hold it up a little bit. That's done. Okay, so I'm just going to hold them upside down for a second. This one is ready to be moved into the fodder tray. So I'll put that over here. Okay, and this one is still going to be draining. Okay, so then I'm going to go here and grab the grass. This grass is the grass that's ready to be fed to the chickens. So I take that out. Instead of feeding it right now, I have kind of like a bowl outside my door right here. I just throw that in the bowl, and I also put in there all of my food scraps for the day. And so I go out to the coop about once a day and give them everything. Okay, so then with this is a little bit slimy on the bottom. I'm going to come here and just quickly wash it out. As I'm washing it out, I check to make sure the water is flowing out of all the holes. Sometimes there might be like a residual seed part that gets stuck in there, so I'll just make sure that's nothing stuck. Okay, and I'm going to then the sprouts that are ready to go in, I put them in. And this is why you need to have a wide mouth jar, because you really have to get your hand in there and pull it out. There we go. Okay. And then with this sprout, you just quickly kind of break it apart. Okay, and keep in mind, this is full, and I only use 2/3 of a cup of wheat seeds. Okay, and then put it in here. Now these, I never rotate these. I'm just coming over here to grab the water. I always put it back where it came from, and I never move them around. It takes too much time. Okay, I'm just gonna pour my water. Okay. Then we come back over here, and I'm just gonna fill this with the fresh wheat seeds. I keep this right close. I don't even cover it because I want fast access to it. So this is 1/3 cup. pour it in. Got this nice handy dandy non-spill thing. Okay, and then here's the lid. Okay, and as you can see, I fill it about halfway full. Put it in here. I don't even bother with rinsing. Doesn't seem to need it. And that's all. So as you can see, it goes by pretty fast, and it took me a little bit longer today because I was talking and explaining as I was going, but I can get this done pretty quickly, and so it's really not a time-consuming project. Also, I would recommend having it right in your kitchen during the fall and the winter. If you know that's where you spend a lot of time like me, it just makes the workflow a lot faster. Okay, one quick funny story. So my niece was visiting, we were having a family dinner, and she asked my daughter, "What is your mom growing in these trays here?" And my daughter told her, "Wheat." And of course my niece heard weed. So she's like, "Oh." So if you grow fodder, you might actually get a bit of a reputation. Although this looks nothing like weed. You might think that it's easier to, like, why not just get a pump and recirculate the water and put it on a timer, and that way you don't have to do any watering indoors. And well, I tried that, and I'm here to say it's actually easier just to pour the water, and I'll tell you why. One thing about fodder that you find out when you try it is that the water that goes through the fodder stinks really bad. And you know, at first you don't notice it, but then like when you dump it, you really smell it. But then, you know, even after like 2 days, you start to smell it. And my kids were complaining, and I thought, okay, if I'm gonna have this inside my house, in my kitchen, next to my dining table, I need to change the water every day. And so, but if you're using a pump, that runs through, so if it's on a digital timer, it has to go at least 1 minute, and that uses about 2.5 gallons of water. So you need about 3 gallons of water, and that is a lot of dumping and pouring and hauling. And as I was doing that, I thought it would just be so much easier just to pour in a little bit of water. And that's why I figured out the minimum amount of water is about a quart, maybe just a teensy bit more than a quart on each side, twice a day. Not hard. Okay, here's my cute little daughter with the fodder, and it has, this is what it looks like underneath. It has a big, nice root system, and chickens eat the whole thing, and she's just gonna go give it to the chickens.
Love it. They'll just surround.
I just thought I would talk about one other thing. Some websites say that chickens don't lay as many eggs when they have fodder, and that actually has not been the case for me. I have been keeping close tracks of all the eggs my chickens have laid since they started laying. Right now they lay about 5 eggs a day. So I can post that, but they also have been getting fodder every day. So they also have their regular chicken food. I would say that it's possible that their digestive systems have gotten used to the fodder since they've had it even before they were laying eggs. So if you are starting fodder, you might notice a decline in their egg production. I would say if you do, maybe back off a little bit and start slowly. Let their digestive system kind of ramp up to be able to handle it. But like I said, I've had no issues with that. And they get this, you know, full on tall grass, and they're doing fine with it.
We had some chickens, no eggs would they lay.